Horror is more than a genre. It's an entire subculture. Over the years, many great villains have been created. Some are underappreciated, and others have maintained a place in the darkest depths of our nightmares. But even though these evildoers seem unstoppable at times, who has proven to be the most terrifying opponent to face? Who really is the most powerful evil force? I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Slasher Movie Villains Weak to Powerful.
Live or die, make your choice.
Now, there are a few rules we'll be following for this list. Some will get a higher rank for any rejuvenation or supernatural traits, but the actual acts they commit will also affect their ranking. We'll also be including some villains who didn't exactly star in slasher films, but the movie was horrifying enough that they earn a mention on the list. With that said, let's get started. We have to place Jack Torrance as our weakest killer. Though he did go crazy and terrorize his family, he loses points because it was more of the influence of the hotel and its shady history. We aren't saying that Jack was incapable of committing these acts on his own, but it was unlikely that he would have ever gone after his family had he not been in such a sinister setting, being manipulated by the spirits that lingered there. Really, Jack was a pawn and a victim as much as the rest of his family was. Psycho is a classic, and Norman Bates definitely earns a spot next. This guy takes mother issues to a whole new level, suffering from a condition known as dissociative identity disorder. Those with this condition can suffer lack of connections with memories, thoughts, actions, and even their identity. This is represented well with Norman, who takes the role of his own mother to kill any of the women he finds arousing. This can result in him being unpredictable and dangerous, but it also results in a lot of slip-ups and short-sightedness.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
We feel we have to mention the focus of the 2000 film American Psycho. Patrick Bateman is next. While a charismatic guy, he was limited by the ability your everyday man would have. He has an advantage over Jack and Norman due to his high status, not to mention the fact that he's more in control of his actions, actually taking joy in destroying lives. While he does suffer from a mental condition, psychopathy, he isn't being cursed or influenced to do anything by any supernatural force.
You're Christy. You're to respond only to Christy.
He's doing it because he wants to. Mrs. Voorhees was an interesting character to place. She is the original Friday the 13th killer, taking vengeance after her son is thought to have drowned to death in Crystal Lake, after camp counselors failed to protect the young boy from being bullied.
Jason should have been watched every minute.
She took her time hunting down everyone she thought was responsible until she became decapitated at the hands of Alice Hardy. We give her a higher ranking due to her lingering influence on her son. When Jason continues her work, killing people around Crystal Lake, Pamela lingers in spirit, encouraging her son to seek vengeance for his fate. Moving on, Leatherface we have to give a lower ranking than some would expect. Not that he isn't terrifying, but while he has some advantage, it isn't a lot. He has the protection of his family, including the only sheriff around for miles.
On your face! All three of you!
But that's just it. They only have that power because they're in the middle of nowhere. Leatherface would likely not be anywhere near as successful of a killer without isolation being on his side, keeping his victims from seeking help or exposing his crimes. If Leatherface tried to operate in a larger community, his family would have to try a lot harder to cover his tracks and hide their own shady involvement.
Everything's gonna be fine real soon.
Next up, we have Ghostface. The ultimate home invader and copycat, he often calls his victims to taunt them and make them paranoid as he hunts them down.
What door am I at?
But we won't go into detail explaining landlines to our younger viewers. He hunts down the inhabitants at the homes he selects, gutting and stabbing his chosen victims. While the person playing Ghostface isn't an invincible force, the true terror is that anyone can adorn the mask and take up his work. Billy, Stu, Mrs. Loomis, Ghostface keeps coming back. There are different people seen taking the role of Ghostface and using the reputation to eliminate their enemies.
Movies make psychos more creative!
The three, Baby, Otis, and Captain Spaulding, are worth mentioning next. They were the focus of the films House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and the recent release of Three from Hell. The entire family is a good reason to have extra money and a backup plan when hitting the road, and to be cautious of anyone that comes off as a little too interested in your travel plans.
I love you, Mama. Oh no.
Baby, Otis, and Spaulding in particular were the masterminds of the operation, luring travelers and successfully killing hundreds of people, mainly young women. They earned a higher spot than most because in their films, we see them use every advantage and form of manipulation they can, and they are far more successful than one would expect. The terrifying part of their story is how in the third film, despite all the evidence against them, much of the public came to their defense and demanded their release. Samara we have to put a little further down due to her being limited by the tape and rules surrounding it. Samara's story is a really sad one. She was once just a mistreated girl, tossed into a well and left to die before finally passing after 7 days.
7 days.
Her own death is the basis of her curse, hunting down anyone who watched the tape displaying her end. While it can be argued that she got enjoyment out of the hunt, terrifying her victims as they reached the last day, we have to place her here since there is a clear supernatural influence. How much of the spirit is truly Samara as she was, and how much of it is the embodiment of her pain and anger is hard to say. This may be a little surprising, but we're placing Hannibal Lecter next on the list. Now, we know some people are going to likely make a fuss in the comments, but hear us out for our reasoning. Lecter, while he is imprisoned, still managed to be one of the most capable and merciless killers on our list.
And a nice Chianti.
He understands the human mind enough to mess with the people who are imprisoning and interrogating him. He is able to distance himself due to being incapable of forming real relationships. But we want to point out one moment in particular. When Agent Starling is attacked by Miggs, when leaving after her first interview with Lecter, the man calls her back to his cell to give her a bit of information, feeling bad she experienced the assault. When she returned, she learned that Miggs died, with Lecter being responsible. Making a man swallow his own tongue like that, Dr. Lecter is a formidable man. Next up, we have Chucky. Once a convict, his soul was transferred to the doll we've all come to recognize. Creepy dolls are a popular item among horror stories, but not every doll has the soul of a strangler. After being given as a last-minute birthday gift, he uses his new body to get people's guards down. He goes on a rampage, but survives being stabbed, melted, and shot.
I didn't think anybody could hurt me. But last night I got shot.
It's revealed that the only way to kill him for good is shooting him in the heart. Really, Chucky is incredibly resilient for his size and material, and his kill count shows us that he's more than capable of doing damage. And given his supernatural strength, Chucky is certainly a lot of power for a toy. Jigsaw, being the mastermind behind the terror of the Saw movies, earned a higher spot on our list, even if he isn't supernatural. A master manipulator, he is the sadist of your worst nightmares.
Congratulations, you are still alive.
First off, we want to give a special respect to the first movie in particular, being a well-done film that instilled terror while having minimal set or costume changes. It was just a great setup to get the audience curious about the madman that caused all of the pain and torment we see on screen. Jigsaw has a way of getting in your head and making you into the monster you always feared lingered in the dark corner of your home. On an unrelated note, have you checked the dark corner of your room since you started this video? The Hook Killer, Ben Willis, is next. The idea of a hook-handed killer is a popular urban legend, but in I Know What You Did Last Summer, it took the form of a fisherman who met his end at the hand of some teenagers taking him out with their car before hiding his body.
He's got my crown!
While his vengeance is somewhat justified, just wanting to eliminate the people that killed him, he's also shown to have an interesting set of abilities.
When you leave a man for dead, make sure he's
really dead.
He's able to use an impressive amount of physical strength, and even comes back as a weird zombie creature in one of the sequels. Now, Carrie did not show the full potential of her powers. The closest we get is during the conflict at her dance when the pig's blood is poured on her. But in this scene, we see what damage she's capable of doing. Simply focusing her attention on a person for a second, and she has their fate sealed. While she could possibly control the very people that make her miserable with a little practice, when Carrie snaps, she gets far more satisfaction out of the victim being helpless and knowing their fate as they're taken out. Michael Myers is next, and we had to place him pretty high on the list. Lacking a normal childhood, he spent years in therapy only to be locked up for most of his childhood when he was deemed dangerous. Michael had the influence of something dark pushing him to commit his acts.
I'm gonna get out of here! Just let me out!
He went on a hunt to take out the last remaining relatives he had. During his time on screen, he is shown to have endless durability and strength. The idea that he has rejuvenation to some degree is hinted at, though is mostly speculated. He survives multiple gunshot wounds and is able to sneak up on victims with little to no detection. Possibly the only things that can really stop him might be decapitation or fire. This is one of those killers who just won't die. He just comes back over and over, which requires tremendous power. Speaking of which, though we already covered his mother, we have to place Jason Voorhees far higher. The man gets one of our top spots due to being pretty much immortal. It's easy to feel bad for Jason once you learn about his childhood and what happened to him, but taking up his mother's work to kill counselors that had nothing to do with his own death was not a proper response. The man keeps coming back, after drowning, after being stabbed, after being buried. Fate seems to be a huge ally to Jason when he's even reanimated by a lightning bolt after being dug up for a cremation. I suppose we only dock him a little bit due to the fact that we don't really know what compels him, and in some cases we question if he's even in control of his own actions or is being controlled by an outside influence. Candyman has very interesting abilities and odd rules surrounding him, though he claims he is all-powerful. He keeps the fear of his hauntings and killings alive as it is directly linked to him being able to continue existing.
I came for you.
While he met his own end through unjust means, it's hard to see him as someone to sympathize with when he chooses to kill anyone who claims that he's just a myth. It's revealed through his films that he is immortal, not being restricted by human needs such as food and water, and can regenerate his form. He keeps living bees within his hollowed out form, able to get them to attack others at will, even once covering an entire city with them. He's also shown to be able to levitate and uses a form of telekinesis. Freddy Krueger is up next with our bronze medal for powerful horror movie villain. There have been so many parodies of Freddy that just about everyone knows the ability he's most known for, entering people's dreams. This power gives him a lot of free range on how to take out his victims. He's given the option to either lure them into a false sense of security, blurring reality with dreams, or making them fill with dread at their impending doom. His tactic is one that cannot be easily avoided, as sleep is something everyone needs, even if we are in total denial as we stay up to 3 a.m. binge watching Good to Evil episodes. But that's besides the point.
This'll help you sleep.
Freddy's power level is pretty much through the roof due to the fact that he has the ability to come back over and over and over, but also has the ability to hunt his victims in a place that they can't run away from him, in their own dreams. Victims can run away from most of these other killers, but it doesn't matter if you're in your own house, in the woods, at school, or the safest place imaginable. You aren't going to escape catching some Z's eventually. Our silver medal of powerful goes to the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. Honestly, a pretty underrated killer in my opinion. Much like Pennywise, he has a hibernation period, hunting for 23 days every 23rd spring, taking on a humanoid appearance during many of his kills. He takes out those he finds isolated, often traveling through the state. His death toll is said to be in the thousands. It consumes everything it can, and uses its bat-like wings to fly over plantations and seek out others, people that may escape or reveal his acts. Unlike many on this list, the Creeper doesn't appear to have a preferred type of victim. He takes men, women, and children if it means his continued survival and chance to feed. He can rejuvenate an injured or lost part of his body by devouring the same body part of one of his victims. He survived being impaled, shot, and even stabbed in the head. His durability makes him an intimidating opponent, and is only made worse when you realize he wasn't just impaled, but impaled by a harpoon. He wasn't just shot, but shot by a machine gun. He's an incredibly well-built predator, even possessing a third nostril to sniff out specific organs in the people he hunts. And finally, we've already alluded to him, but we're giving Pennywise the gold medal of power. His arc is an interesting one, going from being a being that's practically the embodiment of nightmares to being revealed as a creature not of our planet. He's dubbed a cosmic spirit of consumption. While his true form is seen by humans as a sort of giant spider, he most often seeks out his victims while taking on the appearance of a clown. While on the hunt, he not only horrified his victims by appearing around every corner, but he was able to take all sorts of different forms and created a distorted reality, making the victims isolate from anyone that could help and question their sanity. This is a really impressive tactic, messing with a person's mind as well as their body. But what do you think? Who are the most powerful among the horror movie villains? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist. We actually already broke down slasher movie villains from evil to most evil, so check that out too. But most importantly, stay wicked.